This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening, everyone. If I could have your attention, I'm going to start the meeting. My name is Stacy Yarborough, and I am the town clerk of North Haven, and it is my duty to call this special town meeting to order pursuant to our North Haven Town Charter, Chapter 9, Section 903. Before we can actually proceed with the town meeting, I do need to tell you a few things. Before we can go any further, we must elect a moderator. The moderator is nominated and elected by the members of the meeting, which is you. It's the moderator's function to bring before this meeting all items of the warning and to assist in obtaining the objective of the meeting while ensuring the rights of individual voters who wish to be heard. Also, the moderator's duties include helping any member of the meeting in case they have questions, they're looking for clarification, and any advice, etc., with regard to parliamentary procedure. When it's time to vote on an issue tonight, please, and that's including the moderator, please be aware to vote, you must be an elector. And to be an elector of our town, you have to have been a registered voter in town at the time of the most recent election, one who pays taxes to the town on an assessment of property of not less than $1,000 on the most recent grand list, as well as being a citizen of the United States at 18 years of age of older. This regulation will be enforced with regard to all votes taken tonight, and if you're not 100% clear if you are an elector, registered voter, etc., I can check that for you, and you can pop up here and we can take a look. So, at this time I'm going to open the floor for nominations for meeting moderator. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Lynn Frederickson.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other nominations for meeting moderator? Any other nominations? Hearing none, I will now close the floor for nominations and put this to a vote. All in favor of Lynn Frederickson as special town meeting moderator, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed by saying nay. I now declare Lynn Frederickson as the meeting moderator for tonight. Please come forward, Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Stacy. My name is Lynn Frederickson, and I am elected moderator of tonight's meeting. So, where are we? Okay. And the town clerk will now read the warning call of tonight's special town meeting.
Thank you, ma'am. Notice was given of a special town meeting for the town of North Haven to be held tonight, Monday, October 24th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the auditorium of the North Haven High School, 221 Elm Street, North Haven, Connecticut, 06473, for the following purpose: to consider and act upon a resolution by the Board of Selectmen recommending to the town the naming of the press box at Vanacore Field, the Rob Pethick Senior Press Box, dated North Haven, Connecticut, the 6th day of October 2022.
The town clerk will now read our only item of the night, agenda item 1.
The only agenda item tonight is number 1, to consider and act upon a resolution by the Board of Selectmen recommending to the town meeting the naming of the press box at Vanacore Field, the Rob Pethick Senior Press Box.
Is there a second? No? Okay. Now we come to the point of the meeting when we open the floor for discussion on this agenda item. The rules for discussion are very brief, very simple. For any ensuing discussion, anyone who wishes to speak will get a chance to comment before anyone can be called a second time. You must come forward to the microphone. State your name and address before you begin to speak. Discussion will be limited to this item only at this time. We ask that you limit your questions and discussion to no longer than 3 to 5 minutes. Remember, after everyone has had a chance to speak, you may have another turn. Is there any discussion for agenda item 1? Mr. Frieda.
Thank you. I have to apologize in advance, a slight case of laryngitis, so please bear with me. On December 9th, 2015, North Haven lost one of its finest residents and one of its finest men, Mr. Rob Pethick, leaving behind his wife of 32 years, Louise, and his 2 beautiful children, Rob Jr. and Brittany. When Dave Micas and the sports community and the school system called me to ask me if something like this was possible and what would be the procedure, I immediately had a kaleidoscope of flashbacks, and one came into crystal clear focus. It was at Rochford Field in Hamden when I first met Rob Pethick, when our sons were 11 years old, playing for the North Haven Middle School baseball team. I'll never forget bringing a lawn chair over to the third base side, and I see this rather imposing figure sitting there, and I asked him if it'd be okay if I could sit with him. And from that moment, there was an instant connection between Rob and I. We had so much in common. He was a weightlifter, working out at Powerhouse Gym. I was a weightlifter, still am. He played football. He was captain of North Haven's football team, 1977, I believe. I was captain of all my baseball teams. He was in his corporate career as an IT executive. I was in my corporate career as a CEO, utilizing IT executives. And over the course of those 2 hours, it was amazing how that conversation just flowed. And our sons happened to be good friends, still are friends today. I walked away saying, wow, life is very interesting. You can meet someone for the first time and have this connection. Down through the years, I would see Rob. He'd be a coach for various baseball teams. He was a leader of young men. I'll never forget, back in 2009, when he heard I was running for office, he was very happy and proud. Once I took office, I didn't see Rob that much. He came to see me about 10 days before he passed away in 2005. I was helping him do a letter of reference for his son, Rob, who was entering or trying to become a lawyer. He needed a reference for the New York Bar Association. But Rob came to me also and he asked me if he'd be willing to attend a town meeting. He wanted to demonstrate his passion for the town, to support the town. He saw some things happening at the meeting these meetings that he didn't like. And as a true leader, he wanted to step up, and he wanted my opinion as to whether or not he should show up at the meeting, of which, of course, I endorsed, and he did show up. I'm sharing you these personal stories leading up to the type of man that I know that Rob Pethick was. We would joke. He came into my office. He gave me a hug. He joked with the staff. He said, my wife, Louise, sees me watching these meetings every month, and she says, you must have a man crush on Mike. And the staff was laughing. We broke out into hysterics. And then December 9th came. And I could not believe the news. But during the life and times of Rob Pethick, he was a man that gave back to his community. As I mentioned, he was a leader of young men. He coached sports teams. He had an inherent, deep, and passionate love for North Haven football. He did a lot for North Haven athletics, filming games, working Thanksgiving games, giving back to the kids that he loved. He was a leader with the boys that played football and the boys whom he coached in baseball. And he was a leader in his own family, having taken over as the patriarch of his own family when his father passed away. He was an amazing man who's missed today. So when Dave Mikas brought this to my attention, and Steve Blumenthal and various other members of the sports community, this has my full support, ladies and gentlemen, because I know what this man meant to North Haven. I know personally what he did to support youth athletics. I know how he mentored a lot of young boys who played under him in baseball, and how a lot of the football players looked up to Mr. Rob Pethick. As we look back on the life and times of Rob Pethick, he was a compassionate man. He was a professional in many respects in what he did. He had a large degree of mental toughness, which I admired greatly. He laid it all out on the football field as captain of his team for North Haven High School. And he always thought about the young boys and young players that he had play for him and those whom he served at the North Haven football games, filming those games. So as we approach this vote tonight, and perhaps hear from other speakers, Rob Pethick was a man who's missed. Rob Pethick was and is a man who's greatly deserved of naming this facility after him. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Frieda. Is there anyone else who would care to speak?
Dave Mikas, 30 Central Avenue. Those were some wonderful words that Mike had to say about Rob, and I certainly could not add anything to those. But what I can say is I speak on behalf of not just the North Haven High School football team. I'm the booster of the president of the Booster Club, and certainly on behalf of the North Haven High School football team and the sports community. Rob deserves the building named after him by himself. But I think every single one of his family should feel a great sense of pride for what you guys have continued on and what your generosity has meant, not to just the football program, but to many of the student athletes at North Haven High School. It's a tremendous model that you guys have put out there of generosity and kindness. It's not just about the money that you have given to the program by sponsoring the golf tournament. One of the things that I found out as a youth football director for many years was the amount of community that it takes to run a program. Tony Sagnella has had the benefit of our support, your support. Our football program has become one of the finest in the state of Connecticut because so many people have gotten involved. And certainly the Pethick family has been leaders in North Haven in terms of their time, in terms of their generosity, and playing in that tournament on that weekend is such a wonderful community event, and you guys make it happen. So if it wasn't just for Rob's kindness and generosity and commitment to our program that should stand alone, certainly his family should take a great deal of pride in the naming of this building on behalf of not just Rob, but on behalf of all of you for all the time and generosity that you've given to our town and our student athletes. So thank you very much on behalf of the Booster Club and the sports community.
Thank you. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. It's okay to talk, folks. If you'd like to come up and say something, it's perfectly all right. Okay. We will now vote on the resolution. All in favor of agenda item 1, please signify by saying aye. 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 All opposed by saying nay. Okay, and lastly, please provide verbal notice of any abstentions, if any. The motion passes. As there is no further business to be considered at this special town meeting, I hereby declare tonight's special town meeting adjourned. The minutes of this meeting will be made available to the public by the town clerk as soon as possible. Thank you very much for coming out, everybody. Good night.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.